So you are what you look like. It doesn't matter what your genetics are. What's the response to that? Chris, who gets to decide what I look like? Who even has that power to begin with? I don't know, but it's not you, right? In this world, other people decide what you look like. Get over it. It's not how I wish it was, it's not how you wish it was, but it's what it is, right? Especially when it comes to race. If someone thinks that you do not look Hispanic, you're not Hispanic to them. If someone thinks that you don't look black, you're not black to them. If someone thinks you don't look white, you're not white to them. If someone thinks you don't look whatever it is, you're not it to them. It's that simple. And guess what? There could very well be somebody else in that same room who you do look like something to them. And that's really it. If you get, I know that that's a problem, right? And here's why. If you get unlucky and have a tragic experience with somebody who is racist, and let's say somehow we could read people's minds and people's hearts, and we knew that this person actually was being racist, and you take him to court, and we know he was actually being racist, right? Let's say the judge is, let's say he's also a minority, right? Let's just toss it in there because it happens. Let's say he's also a minority, and he doesn't think that you look like a minority. For example, me, right? I'm Mexican. People have said that I look white. People have said that I look Vietnamese. People have, no, that's pretty much everything that people said. I look white, Hispanic, or Asian to them, right? And let's say we get a Mexican judge in there who actually looks Mexican. And before anybody wants to give me shit about, well, what does actually Mexican look like, Chris? Isn't that stereotypical and racist? What does this look like? What does that rate? The image that pops into your head is what that race looks like, and that's that. Stop trying to make things complicated. Stop trying to start drama. You know what I'm talking about. I know that you know what I'm talking about. Just stop it. You know what a Mexican looks like in your head. That is what a Mexican looks like in everybody's head. If it's stereotypical, it's stereotypical, but whatever. That's what I'm talking about, right? So let's say we got a judge in there that looks Mexican, right? And I was the one taking this racist guy to court, and he looks at me. And he's like, with this guy's not Mexican, right? And that's that, right? The judge, let's say he lets the racist person go free, right? Because this judge has a tough time believing that somebody could look at me and be racist because I don't look Mexican. Because he looks at me and to him, I'm white. I mean, look at me. I'm white, right? Then that's that. That's really it. It sucks. But that's it. There isn't always a clear answer to everything. And so just because someone thinks something about you or you think something about yourself doesn't mean that someone else or everybody does. And obviously, what I'm saying is directed to people who probably have mixed genetic pools, whether they know it or not, or at least look like they do. And I know that there's variety across every gene pool and within every race, and that not everyone of a specific race looks the same. But let's not stretch this out like we normally do. There is variety, but bro, like there comes a line that you cross where it's not just variety, it's there's another gene pool in your blood. Like let's keep it simple, right? Like me, like I know that there's variety in the Mexican people, but bro, like if you're gonna look at me and tell me that I'm 100% Mexican and that there isn't something frankly European or Asian in my blood, I just think that you're stretching the truth to be politically correct. There is variety, but there's not night and day variety, right? That's why we're a people, that's why we're a group. But anyway, I'm talking to the people who probably have mixed gene pools or look like they do. I'm not talking about people who obviously look like what they are. Yes, like the people that pop into your head when you think of a certain race. Like, right? And the people who I'm talking about know that I'm talking about them. People like me know that we're being talked about right now. And the people who aren't like me know people who fit exactly what I'm talking about. We all know people like that. And everybody, I think they just need to get it through their head. There is no set definition for anything in life, or much in life at least, right? There's no lines, no boundaries, no guidelines for a lot of things, especially when it comes to our appearances, particularly with race. And that's life. There's not an answer to everything. Again, especially not with your identity. And I know that we all are smart enough to know that. People just sometimes look ambiguous. So it can be hard to pin an identity on them. And what happens when it's hard to pin an identity on you? Some people think one thing about you, and other people think another thing about you. In the real world, what does this mean? It means that some people treat you like you belong to group A, and other people treat you like you belong to group C, and maybe other people treat you like you belong to group F, B, whatever letter there is. People treat you like what you look like to them. And the opposite is true, right? Sometimes people can treat you like something you are not, and sometimes people can refuse to treat you like something that you are. It's sad, but it's that simple, right? And again, I'll use me as an example, but I know we can all think of people who fit it if you're not one of those people yourself. Some people treat me like I'm Hispanic. A lot of Asian people, they kind of open with me because upon first impression, sometimes they think that I'm Asian. Or white people, especially now with Corona time, right? Especially now with Corona time and I'm wearing a mask, right? I'm wearing a mask and I'm walking around, like this. And all you can see is my eyes. And a lot of times I wear hats because, it's cold. And all you can really see is my eyes and my skin color. There's a good chance you're going to think that I'm white. And if you have a tough time seeing that, it's because you probably haven't seen me with a mask and with a hat. And so, I'll use my job at my job, there's a lot of Mexicans who come through, right? I work at Home Depot. And sometimes they come to me speaking English. And that bothers me in a lot of ways, right? Because I'm Hispanic and I'm proud to be Hispanic, and Spanish was my first language. And more than just that, I can see the way that they approach me, or not all of them, because some of them can tell that I'm Hispanic even with the mask and with the hat, but some of them can't. I would say it's maybe 50-50. And it kind of just makes me sad, right? Or I guess disappointed, because you could just see the way that they're interacting with you. And it's a little bit weird because they're not comfortable interacting with me because I'm white. And in today's climate, it makes sense that there's a bunch of Hispanics that are just uncomfortable around whites, right? I'm one of them. And for crying out loud, I can pass as one of them, and I'm one of them. And so my point is that they don't treat me like I'm Hispanic. And sometimes I talk in Spanish. I reply in Spanish, obviously, because it's clear English. They struggle with their English, and I'm perfectly fine with my Spanish. And I use it every day. So, I meet them with their language. It's also my language too. They're my people too. But it's very clear that even though they hear me speak Spanish, it's almost like they're in disbelief, and it doesn't go through their head that I'm actually Hispanic. And so the way that they interact with me, it shows. And so I'm not treated like one of them. And then what happens? One of my coworkers, who's clearly more Mexican than me, at least physically, they get treated like they're one of them. The interactions that they have with these customers, they're more natural, it's more easygoing, it's more casual, there's a lot more cultural, right? And you just feel like you're at home. And with me, I kind of feel like I'm othered. It sucks. And I wish that it wasn't the case. But that's just what it is, right? That's just what it is. And obviously this is not with everybody, but that's my point. That's my point exactly. And I think, moving on, right? The worst thing that people have been doing since the beginning of time is trying to give everything a clear answer. And the second worst thing that people have been doing is behaving like everything does have a clear answer. Why do you think that we fight so much? Have you ever really sat back and thought about how much we argue with one another, debate with one another in politics and in real life, in the classroom? And why do you think that issues of race, class, and other social shit like this, they just never get solved? And whenever there's a solution to a problem, there are 1,000 things wrong with it. And people are happy to point it out, angrily and quickly. And at the same time, there are 1,000 things right with that solution. And people are excited to point that out too, passionately. There's not even two sides of the argument for social things like this. It's not a matter of this or that, yes or no, wrong or right. There are hundreds of perspectives and answers and opinions on this sorts of social stuff. Again, there's no guidelines or answers on how or what to think, right? So then why do we get so outraged? And when I say we, I'm talking about people who look racially ambiguous here, right? Why do we get so outraged when someone thinks that we look like something that we're not and they treat us like it? Why? You look ambiguous and there's no answer to anything. No one can just look at you and tell you what you look like. That's just not in your gene pool. It's not who you are. Get over it. Just get over it. Get over it. I know what I look like, and I know what other people think I look like. Again, sometimes people think I look Hispanic, sometimes people think I look white, and sometimes people think I look Asian. Vietnamese specific. That's the one that I heard the most, but I've heard it all. And so they treat me like it. And obviously, I wish everybody could look at me and know that I'm Mexican. But that's just not the world that we live in. And I'm not sitting here complaining about it. People are going to treat me how they treat me. And if that means sometimes I get treated better because I look white, then that's the case. If sometimes that means that I get treated like I don't belong in a group of Hispanics because I don't fit in with them because of what I look like and they view me as white, or they assume that I'm white first until I prove it to them, then so what? I don't know. I just think in this world, you don't get to decide what you exist as. You don't get to decide who you are in this world. You can only decide what you do. Let me know what you think. Stay safe and thanks for listening.